Salam and welcome back to SomaliDispatch.com's YouTube channel. My name is Abdulghadir Goulet. Somaliland has in recent weeks welcomed a congressional delegation in Hargeisa, showing signs that the US government is perhaps revising its relationship with the unrecognized country. We discuss that plus the dispute surrounding law number 14 with Mohamed Jama Koodbuur. Mohamed is a chairman of Somaliland's House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. He talked to us from London, where he was visiting. Salam, Mohamed Jama Koodbuur, and welcome to Somali Dispatch, and thank you for accepting our invitation and giving us the opportunity to get some clarification on some of these questions that the public might have. If you can start us off by giving us your assessment on Somaliland's current political situation, would be great.
Thank you, Abdullah. Thanks for having me. Somaliland had an election back in May 31st in 2021 and took a very important step towards democracy with parliamentary and local council polls on that date. And we achieved quite a lot based on that. The government conducted a peaceful election, which was very successful. And I think in terms of, with regards to foreign relationship, I think there is, based on my assessment, since I've been appointed, elected and then appointed foreign affairs chairperson, there is obviously a lot of work need to be done, but I think they did quite okay so far. But obviously there's quite a lot of gaps or shortfalls, which I think they could have done better or outreach more countries, or could have made more friends, basically.
Right, and we will get to that aspect of your job as the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, the House of Representatives. But if I could go back a minute and ask you about your reaction to the latest dispute among the newly elected parliamentarians surrounding law number 14, which speaks to the registrations of political associations.
I think I've been away from the country when that dispute started in a parliament, and I think this is based on different opinion from different group. Our parliament is newly elected, is inexperienced, although they are young and very energetic MPs who I'm sure wants to do a lot for their country and make changes as expected from the people who elected them. But I think in this with this regard, which actually is divided the parliament, I think is more politically motivated from the government side.
Right. Clearly, if the president wanted to just enact basically the law number 14, which is currently in the books, there's so many other legitimate ways that he could have done so. What do you think is behind the bush for this dispute at this given moment?
Well, the president had a time. Previous parliament actually formed out a law and they passed on to the president, and he had all the time. Basically, he thought within the current, because of the election we just had, the two in election we just had, and the presidential election is due and we just round the corner. He thought it's not appropriate or it's not right to actually talk about opening parties, and he decided to return to the new elected parliament. And then all of a sudden he changed his mind, and I think, based on my opinion, I think it's to do with him feeling that he has no chance. Obviously, he wants to be re-elected again, and he will run again for presidential election. But I think he feels that he doesn't have a much chance to win a second time in the House. And I think the only option he can see that will be possible for him is just to ask for extension, which was sort of like become a culture from previous governments and the previous president and even the one before that they achieved through the elderly house. And I think he just heading that direction, and he just asked, he wants to extend at least 2 years. I think that's the motive behind all these dispute. And the only way I think he feels he could get that because of the new parliament, which is very determined and basically wants to do things right. I think it's just to create drama or just to create sort of dispute or chaos country, and then end up negotiating with the opposition parties and parliament. And basically, maybe that's the only hope. And I think he could stay a little bit longer in office.
Right. Mohamed Jama Koodbuur, you're a representative in the House of Wakilada in Somaliland. You're also the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You also hail from UID. The dispute comes, as you know, at a time when there's a renewed interest in Somaliland's status, at least from the perspective of the United States. What could a dispute like this do to that momentum?
Obviously, as you said, there's interest from the USA or United States who basically send a delegate recently to the country to make an assessment, mainly to do the security assessment. But obviously, that's a step forward, and it's something we all welcomed. But this will actually be knock-on effect by obviously giving them doubts in terms of security. Also, we don't want this to escalate or go down on the wrong route. Obviously, that was a very good step from the United States, basically showing interest towards Somaliland. And obviously, we don't want to spoil it. We just want them, obviously, to come forward, and obviously we need the support, and we make this the right steps for getting or having a recognition for Somaliland. But so we don't want anything jeopardize that. Obviously, make them feel that the region is becoming, or the Somaliland is becoming insecure. So we have to avoid anything will give or will indicate insecurity in Somaliland or instability.
Right. Any push for recognition at minimum should include Somaliland's newly elected House of Representatives and the committee that you chair. As that chair, is the government involving the committee and you specifically in any new strategy that they may have moving forward?
Not yet. We've just been obviously elected, and we took over the House of Representatives back in August. So we only had one seat in it was about 2 months, and we traveled to abroad. The committee traveled to abroad, to Kenya, Finland, and Sweden. When we had a basically good welcoming in those countries. But as far as the government concerned, or the foreign minister department concerned, we haven't actually had any meeting or any
Right.
discussion to do what plan they have for the recognition, what they've done so far. Although the current minister is also new, and he hasn't been even approved by the parliament over his terms is passed, but he's new. He's been traveling as well, so we haven't had that opportunity so far, and I hope soon they will invite us to share with us the right information which we could do with the moment.
Right. Somaliland being the way it is for the last 30 years, with the one person, one vote, somewhat a democratic country in that part of the world. Some argue that the current Somaliland government, perhaps the successive governments of Kulmiye, got in the way of those achievements by taking steps that are contrary to democracy and perhaps to the constitution, as some argue, by arresting civilians, comedians, singers, and basically pushing back the push for that democratic claim Somaliland has been putting forward for the past 30 years. Is that something the committee is willing to address, or perhaps has it in its agenda moving forward?
Yeah, you're quite rightly. Yeah, the Premier Party, especially the current government, sometimes use strong tactics that against the opposition candidate, or people simply expressing their views in the internet or the social media, being arrested, sometimes having brought to justice or charge at all, and they just sometimes end up in prison for months and months without being taken to court. This is the concerns a lot of our MPs, most of our MPs have, obviously because we are new, we just taking things step by step. But it's the concerns we all have, the concerns we need to address and make the government accountable, the right department to be accountable. But it is right, you're right, the government are using heavy-handed tactics sometimes and arrest people wrongly. I personally know one of my photos, relatives who is being arrested in about 10 months ago, and is in prison, and hasn't been brought to court, but he's still in prison, currently speaking, without charge. We know the reason he's been arrested. It was basically something to do with the land, but it hasn't been proven guilty, but he's still inside and locked up. So these sort of concerns are actually we need to address as soon as we get the opportunity to address, to do them.
Right. Perhaps other committees, such as the Justice and perhaps the Security committees at the House, could also participate in that. Somaliland's current government, one of their a flagship democratic achievement is the relationship Somaliland currently enjoys with Taiwan. The Wadani presidential candidate Abdurrahman Ero recently said that Somaliland should reconsider its relationship with Taiwan, given they are also not recognized. What do you think about that relationship, and are you for renegotiating perhaps, or looking at that relationship with a different eye?
Well, yeah, Wadani Chairman Abdurrahman Ero did said those words, but I wouldn't say reconsider, I would say review. I believe we should review not just Taiwan being present in Somaliland, or the relationship between Taiwan and Somaliland. We should always review and see the benefit Somaliland having from such a relationship, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's any other country. I think review is not something people should take a wrong way. We should review DP World agreement we had with, and we should review all other agreements. And as a parliament, I think these kind of things we should obviously assess and investigate and find out and look back to the agreement with Taiwan or any other relationship we have with other countries. So reviewing, I don't think there's a problem, but obviously there's other countries who approach Somaliland, who wants to make a relationship with Somaliland. So we should obviously consult more. We should basically assess the benefit or advantage and disadvantage with each relationship we have with any country.
Right. As the new Foreign Affairs Committee and its chairman, what is the committee focusing on moving forward?
We focus in more with regards with the basically working hard on finding more friends for the parliament for Somaliland, basically outreaching other parliament in other countries. So far, we went to Kenya and we met the caucus, the two-party Kenyan Parliament and Somaliland Parliament group, which been formed by the previous Somaliland Parliament and Kenyans. Basically, our aim is to make more friends and more relationship with the other parliament, to learn from them, and basically to take Somaliland further than the other party parliament before we took. Basically, our main goal is to the commission, work on the commission, and at the same time to obviously work with the ministry, for example, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Planning Ministry, and Investment Ministry, which comes under our responsibility.
Appreciate it, and I thank you immensely for explaining these pertinent issues to our viewers. And hopefully, moving forward, we can from time to time revisit some of these issues and see if there's been developments in this. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with all your work.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for visiting our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top Somali related news in English by visiting us at somalidispatch.com. And you should also subscribe to our YouTube channel here to watch interviews with newsmakers. Thank you.